Hi, welcome to Things to Consider. Today we're going to look at different options to consider in cooling hot parts produced in the factory operation. Many parts are cast, extruded, forged, and they're hot, and they have to be cooled in the operation before you can move on to the next step in the production process. So how do we cool these parts? Well, there's different ways. You can let it sit. A lot of parts that are produced, they put them into a basket or they're hung on a hanger, and they're set up in a carousel. And basically they just move around the factory at a particular speed, letting the air naturally cool them. And there's a whole technology related to carousel design and so on. With this particular option, you don't have a lot of energy costs, it's just within the carousel, but you've got to lubricate the chains, you've got to take care of the carousel itself, and that can take up a lot of maintenance time too. And it takes up a lot of space. It takes up a lot of space, it takes time, and then there's the maintenance cost of the chain system moving the entire carousel around all day long. Now, you can use a blower. You can use a blower to help reduce the size of the carousel system or the chain system. You can reduce some time in cooling, but only a certain amount of time with the blower because it has limited cooling effect. It's like a fan cooling you versus an air conditioner cooling you in your home. It will cool you and it will reduce some time, but it will not, reduce it, super amount. But it will be able to reduce the space needed. Will be able to reduce the amount of real estate you need in the carousel system. And then you have to, of course, also introduce the fact that you have to maintain these blowers. You have to have some maintenance on them. Another option is to utilize compressed air amplifiers. The nice thing about compressed air amplifiers is that which is one I have in my hand, is that they reduce the amount of cooling time quite significantly. And the reason for that is they convert pressure to a very high flow, very high laminar flow at high velocity, which cuts through the boundary layer produced by the heat over the hot part that's being produced in the factory. This allows it to eliminate that heat much, much more quickly. For example, there was a cast part which we had dealt with at one time in a factory where the part would be left to sit on a table, just let it cool naturally for about 30 minutes. When applying an air amplifier onto that part, we're able to do the same cooling in only 30 seconds. So from 30 minutes to 30 seconds, that's a pretty significant drop in time needed for cooling. So compressor amplifiers can reduce the time needed for cooling quite significantly, certainly reduce the possibility of having to have these carousel systems, and there's virtually no maintenance to them. So it's an option to seriously consider, despite the added energy cost of using compressed air. Because with these other systems, you still have the cost of maintaining a carousel system, a lubrication system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So don't discount use of compressed air for cooling at all. You can utilize Vortex Tubes, which is another one that I have in my hand. Vortex Tube does spot cooling, creates freezing air from compressed air in a small area. But it's really only feasible for small parts. Again, there's no maintenance, and it's great for cooling small parts, but if the parts are of any larger size, you're going to go to air amplifiers. And finally, you can use refrigeration, but there's a high capital cost to install a system like that. Again, they need maintenance, and again, you take up a lot of space. So these are the various options you can utilize in cooling hot parts produced in factory operations.